Greetings and greetings and salutations. This is Ariane Taylor with Tailor Made Success Coaching coming to you with HR Hot Topics segment number 2, having to deal with resumes. If you'll recall, last week the HR Hot Topic was cover letters, and this week it's resumes. I'm going to provide you with helpful tips for creating a resume that's competitive and sure to get you noticed. So we'll start by looking at the main topics to be covered. What is a resume? I'm going to give you a basic breakdown of components that you'll find within a resume. Then we'll move to a closer look at resumes where I'll break down each of the component and its contents. Why I can't use a generic all-for-one resume? I'm going to explain why you must have multiple versions of your resume. No more all-for-one generic resumes. It's just not working in today's job market. I'm going to then move and discuss resume styles, talk about the various resume styles and types. We're also going to be discussing how the job posting is key. It's the most essential piece to the resume writing process. And then finally, I'll discuss 2014 resume trends and do a wrap up with some questions from a social media poll that I took recently asking about what are some things that the job seekers are struggling with when it comes time to applying for a new position or new career. So let's get started. What is a resume? In a snapshot, a resume is a personal summary of your work history, skill set, personal, education, and professional qualifications. If we take a closer look at the components that make up a resume, we'll find the following are typically included in the body of work: your career goals, objective or summary of qualifications section, your educational background, your work experience, your scholastic achievements, awards, or career achievements and awards, special technical skills related to your job field or industry, such as computer skills, bilingual skills, certifications, proprietary software that you might be familiar with in your industry, and any volunteer and community service work that you have also engaged in throughout your employment history or career. Now let's look at some helpful tips, knowing what we know now about what a resume is made of. Ask yourself, what type of job or career are you looking for? It's important to know what type of industry you're trying to get into or currently work in. You need to understand the jargon, the lingo, what's expected as far as education and skills. Ask yourself, what soft and hard skills do you have to offer an employer? Soft skills are intangible and hard skills are more tangible and easier to assess and prove. Let me give you an example. A soft skill would be, say you're reliable. You're very reliable, dependable, analytical, detail-oriented, and passionate. These are skills that money can't buy. These are innate talents and abilities. And those are things that would sell and market you as being a good candidate. So you want to play up on that skill set. And then hard skills are more easier to prove and technical. If you say that you're proficient in Microsoft Office suites and you're giving, say the employer gives you a assessment exam or test, you want to be able to show and prove that you do have that proficiency level that you claimed in your resume, okay? Or interview rather. So think about these hard skills. It may be that you know some type of proprietary software system, So think of these things that you might know that sets you apart from everybody else applying. Also consider what type of education or certification does the job or career you want require. You need to understand what the industry requires or the company is specifically looking for in the position that you want to apply to. That job posting gives you everything. It's everything. You just need to sit down and really think about what it's telling you and sit down and think of how you actually fit that requirement and be able to list the reason why you know you're qualified. It's a good exercise to help you develop a targeted resume, which we'll talk about further in the presentation. If you're transitioning fields, what are the skills that you possess that would transfer smoothly to newly sought after career job? So think about what skills that you have already that are transferable across multiple industries. For example, a good transferable skill set, no matter what industry you're in, would be superb or exceptional customer service skills. Every company wants that customer service field, both internally amongst different departments, and definitely externally when dealing with their clients and customers. So that is an example of a transferable skill that can be used for any industry. Think of other transferable skills, okay? Things that translate across any industry. Think business. Think, what are you doing on any of these jobs or positions that you've had that can be transferred to the new job or position or company? You got to think about the company. A lot of times people make mistakes within the resume writing process because they're really focusing on themselves, which they're supposed to, but you have to focus on yourself with the notion knowing that you're trying to work for this company. So your perception needs to match their perception of what you can provide and offer them. Now we'll move on to this topic about no generic all for one resumes. Why you shouldn't use one resume for every job you want to apply to. Get used to the fact that you will need to create multiple versions of your resume. If you set up your master resume correctly, you'll be able to shave time off during the application process by only needing to scan your resume and tweak it for key action words. In a nutshell, basically what this is saying is that if you work smarter and not harder, you understand the following things. One, that you're going to need to target your resume to the specific jobs that you are applying for, not just the industry, because I guarantee there's something unique in every job posting. So get used to the fact that you're going to dedicate some type of USB drive to resume and employment documents when you're going through the career transition process, okay? Then next, think about compiling a long, massive master resume, which is guaranteed to probably be more than 1 or 2 pages, depending on your background, of all the places that you worked, at least in the last, I want to say 5 to 10 years or more if you're at the executive level. But think of all of the places you worked. Make a master one. You're not going to send this resume to anybody because it's going to be all chopped up and not cool, but it'll have all your information centralized. So then as you begin to target your new resumes for each new job that you apply moving forward, it'll be easy for you to go in and kind of copy and paste over a lot of information and transfer it easily to curtail and fit each specific job that you're going for at the moment. We're going to talk about the various resume styles that you're going to need to consider, and they're going to vary for these jobs you're going for, okay? So I'm basically going to cover 4 different types and styles of resumes in this video segment. Number 1 is a chronological resume, the one that everyone is pretty much familiar with. And it starts by listing your work history very early on in the document. You start with your most recent position and you kind of work your way backwards. Okay, so employers typically prefer this type of resume because it's easy to see what jobs you've held and when you worked with them and how long it's easier to gauge your experience level. This type of resume works well for job seekers who have a strong, solid work history. So if you have been slowly but surely climbing your way up the ladder and you can show a chronological progression of responsibility within one common career or discipline, then chronological resume is for you. However, a lot of people tend to be in that entry level and mid career range trying to still kind of get a grip on moving into a new direction. And for them, a chronological resume would be disastrous, because if you have been going to school, for instance, for the last 2 to 4 years trying to pursue higher education degree, and the jobs that you've been working have just been literally kind of temporary in your mindset, but totally not related to the new field that your degree is in. Translation, you have no experience. A chronological resume would hurt you, because at first glance, which, believe me, a recruiter only really scans in about 7 to 15 seconds, they say, to kind of surmise, do I want to read further? And if they see cashier, say you went to school to become a LPN nurse and you've been cashiering somewhere for the longest, or working in retail, that has nothing to do with your new career. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that you don't want them to box you in and focus on what you were doing in the past. You want them to see you and how you're moving forward, which brings me to my next point of resume style type, which is called a functional resume. This type of resume focuses on your skills and experience as opposed to that chronological work history. And it's used most often by people who are changing careers or who have gaps in their employment history. Okay, so that's something that I really want you to think about. That's the most common type that I'm seeing a lot of people needing to use the most as I'm doing resume servicing and resume writing at this time. The next style is combination resume. This resume lists your skills and experience first. Then your employment history follows it. And this type of resume allows you to highlight the skills that you have that are relevant to the job that you're applying for. And they also provide the chronological work history that employers prefer. So it's kind of a blend of chronological meets functional. And I find this type of resume style to be most beneficial to mid-career level management positions that are kind of entry-level management trying to move to that mid or executive level. I find that that combination targeted resume really works in combination with the next one, targeted resume styles. This resume style is customized so that it specifically highlights the experience and skills you have that are relevant to the jobs you are applying for. It definitely takes more work to write a targeted resume than to just click to the apply with your existing resume, which is why I said you need multiple versions here. However, it's worth the effort, especially when applying for jobs that are a perfect match for your qualifications and experience. If you look at a job ad and you say, hey, without a doubt, hands down, I've got more than they're asking for, and this is right on target, then it is worth you taking a second look and actually picking out what they're looking for, the keywords, and play a career match game, if you will. Pull out exactly what they're asking for with your skill that is exactly paired up as a match, and then so on and so forth. What you're going to start to do then is build a keyword list for your targeted resume, which is what you need right now for these applicant tracking systems. Okay, we talked about this before. Key action words are the main thing. That's why the job posting is the key. The job posting is the key to the resume writing success process. Within the job posting, the employer tells you the following. They tell you what they're looking for. They address who they're looking for. What type of skills, education, and work experience are required to even be considered for an interview. What type of skills and education and work experience is preferred. Sometimes you'll see this is what's required, this is the bare minimum, and then this is what we would really love to have. And the closer your skills are to those preferred skills that they're seeking, the better your chances will be for nailing an interview and possibly the job. So now I want to move a little bit further to 2014 resume trends, and I did some research on this and included it here in this presentation. So as you'll see at the top, there's your resume. So then to the right, you'll see that there's the objective portion. Well, there's another thing I want to tell you. A lot of people are getting away from an objective. It's just too basic. It's not going to stand out, and you want to set yourself apart. So people are replacing that objective statement with a summary of qualifications or summary of skills section. And what that section really is just a well-crafted overview of your most impressive qualifications. This will display up front why you're an attractive candidate right off the bat. You're letting them know specifically and targeting what they're asking for. You've got the keywords in there. So that's going to intrigue the recruiter. It makes their job so much easier. It shows them a couple of things. One, that you paid attention. Two, you took the time and due diligence. That's showing right there and backing up your story about your attention to detail. It's so important. It's the little things. So as much as possible, move away from a generic objective and come up with a summary of qualifications. Okay. Formatting is the next resume trend, making sure that your document, of course, is edited, proofread, free of errors. Very important. Also getting creative with the templates, not just using a basic or generic, or sometimes using a crisp or classic version. It really depends on what you're trying to portray. Also, reference section. The research I conducted showed that a lot of people are moving away from that references available upon completion. Of references available upon request. Sorry, got tongue tied. Well, that's kind of obvious. They know that typically, that this is what they're trying to say, that basically you should have the basic knowledge that that they're going to ask for references and you should have them available. So putting it on the resume actually is pointless now. However, there's one trend that I do want to point out that I talk more about in my resume coaching programs. There's a new wave of people listing directly on their resume a what they say type of column or area. And what that means is they'll copy in some verbiage from a recommendation or from their job or from a client or a customer. They'll put that quote or testimonial right into the body of the resume at the very end. It's kind of like how they end out, and they'll have the people's names and their titles to show, hey, I'm the real deal and I've got good people to back me. So that's one thing to think about and do some more research on. The length of the resume, that's very important. It's varying now. The one pager is strictly for those that are entry level career seekers, functional resume people. If you're transitioning into the new, a new career field, you're going to need to keep it short and sweet to get them to focus on the skills, the transferable skills. But if you are an expert in your field and you rock and you're trying to climb to the top, you really want to showcase it. The key is to make it worth the read. In that case, about 2 pages typically suffices. Lastly, the resume trend that is very common and no surprise is that the online presence of candidates are really determining how the employer, potential employer, perceives you. A lot of times this is done first. They're Googling you. They're looking for you. They're seeing what your web presence is. And depending upon the industry and type of job that you are applying to, you need to make sure that you look at that area and address it very hands-on. Everything that you're out there doing should be showing, hey, if you're applying for a marketing job, everything should be showing, hey, I'm a master network marketer. See, look at the following base that, follows you, if that's your area. Or, hey, I'm a teacher, look at the educational forums and articles and different things I've published and books and so forth. So that online presence is important, as well as leveraging LinkedIn. I provide a coaching training program on that as well. LinkedIn is, I call like an underground mastermind. It's where most of the underground recruiting is occurring today. You talk about mastermind networking. LinkedIn connects people to people through people in a way that really shows you that 6 degree of separation theory at its best. And joining the groups are really what broadens your horizons and opens your network and potential. Okay. Resume do's and don'ts. Do proofread your resume. Do edit the resume. Revise your resume multiple times. Do check for grammar and spelling errors. Highlight your strengths and tailor the resume to the job description. Read the job posting in its entirety and write it down. Keywords. Like, write down the keywords exactly that are popping out at you and that shows, a genuine connection to the skill set you have. Don't be too wordy. Don't rush. Trust me, you'll regret it when you keep sending out hundreds and thousands of resumes and not getting a hit on it. Don't submit the same resume for every job that you apply to. We covered that. You need to switch up the styles. You need to switch up the templates every now and again and refresh it. You need to definitely stay on top of those action words and tailor and target that resume to fit that employer. So let's wrap things up. This is where I'm going to do the Q&A session, the social media poll questions that I pulled from my social network. So let's look at the poll question. When you are seeking a new job and career, what do you struggle with the most? This is a question that I posed on social media, and I pulled out the top 5 that I got overall that were the most common questions. So one person said, the thing I struggle with the most is knowing what's out there and what's available. Can you offer places to look for jobs in my field? Well, one thing you want to do is when you're doing a Google search, be very specific. And when you're on job search engines, be even more specific. Use the advanced settings. It will quickly help you narrow down everything and instead of having you scour for hours and hours through what's available. You need to go straight for what you know you're qualified for. And I think a lot of people waste a lot of time on what makes the job search process so frustrating is that they're looking and focused on the number of jobs as opposed to the specific jobs that match their skill set, that they have a better chance of actually getting an interview. Because the bottom line is, you're looking for a job, you need to get in front of the people that have the authority to give it to you. So why waste time scouring through 10 to 12 pages worth of jobs, and they're all over the place in general, when you can just use the advanced settings and keywords there that'll bring you directly to the ones that are worth your while. Okay. Places to look in your career field. Do a Google search specifically for search engines that deal with your field. So if you're a medical personnel, I will do medical job search engines. Or if you're a new grad, search engines for college graduates. The next question is, how do I curtail my current experiences to fit specific jobs I apply to? Transferable skills, people. Look at the functional resume style. Do more research on that. Find a template that's functional. Pull out the skills from your master resume that actually pairs up to those specific jobs and find a way to show how they transfer. Which leads to the next question. How do I pull them out when trying to break into a new field? Look at those skills such as customer service, the computer proficiency, the proprietary systems that may be common across the industry, no matter the company. Look at those skills that you bring to the table. Okay, certifications, education, volunteer work even. Okay. Entry-level jobs that require experience. How can you get experience if they won't give you a chance? This was another question that I received. That's where volunteer work and community service and pro bono type of work, if you will, actually plays a role. Experience is the best teacher. And it doesn't really matter at the end of the day where you got the experience. It's the fact that you actually have the experience. So don't be afraid to volunteer, to If you're interested in accounting and bookkeeping and you want some hands-on experience and you want to get an accounts payable or receivable job, for instance, don't be afraid to volunteer to keep books for a small business or to actually shadow a CPA accounting firm. I mean, offering up your time may take away from some activity for a short-term, situation, but the experience and contacts that it can give you can last your lifetime. And lastly, the thing I struggle with is applying for jobs that don't offer starting rates of pay or salary ranges. Well, I hate to say that some of the very best companies that are really about recruiting competitively will state starting ranges of pay or wages if they're in a competitive market, particularly, say, the medical field, for one, as an example. Because they're trying to attract, and they know that there's massive numbers of people in competition within that industry, so they may. But typically, if you think about it historically, pay is not something that is discussed right away or upfront in the job application process. That usually occurs at least when the employer is ready to make you an offer, or the interview before that offer process typically occurs, or at the reference checking point. So get used to some employers still following that classic model. These are the references where I got a lot of the information from. And I also want to thank you for listening in on this resume coaching session. I really, truly hope that it helps someone. I want to remind you that I'm Ariane Taylor, and I'm a success coach for Tailor Made Success Coaching. I'm doing this HR Hot Topic Job Seeker series for those that are struggling in this economy and need some extra help or education on the matter. I'm a certified professional resume writer, and I just want to give back this information in hopes that it helps someone. If you're looking for more career tips, knowledge, and information, and even small business resources and information, please check out my blog at Tailor Made Careers. So my blog is tmcs4you.wordpress.com. tmcs4you.wordpress.com. And you can also add my business Tailor Made Consulting Services, my Facebook business page. Right here, just look for Tailor Made Consulting Services. And we're a boutique consulting firm that offers HR and business solutions to small businesses and individuals. And I'm doing my success coaching series on YouTube. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. Thank you very much.